It really helps when you unmute your microphone. Welcome, everybody. This is Jim Lee from ClimateViewer News at ClimateViewer.com. What a great way to start a fail. I have this handy dandy little touch screen. Yeah, you can't see it. Anyway, my stream deck, it showed that the mic was not muted. But anyway, the most controversial topic in chemtrails, the on-off switch. What the hell is going on there? What about the pumps? What about the little pipes we're seeing sticking out of the back? Why are they flicking off and on? And what do the scientists say? What do the debunkers say? And what does the gut say? All of that and more in today's video. Plus a special appearance by an old friend, Harold Say from Chemtrails Planet. He's going to call in. He's in live chat right now. Everybody say hi to Harold. I already posted his Substack, so definitely go follow his stuff. He was censored the F off of YouTube, and he's back at it again. He still has a new YouTube channel, but we've had lengthy discussions off the air, and I told him, I said, I would rather have this discussion in front of everybody so that you guys can get, different perspectives. The day we all agree is the day we could all be wrong. And I certainly don't want to mislead anybody. And I am definitely not above reproach. So with that being said, let's do a little bit of chemtrail history. I mean, maybe you've seen this clip, but clearly this ain't your grandma's contrail.
Trail, where some of the chemicals rapidly descend to sea level to form an opaque vertical curtain. Observers have seen an increasing frequency of chemical warfare and other experiments in our skies. Spraying Agent Orange during the Vietnam War demonstrates the military has been developing more sophisticated chemical warfare operations using aircraft since 1923. As aircraft performance, altitude, and fleet numbers have increased over the years, observers are seeing a skyrocketing number of chemical experiments in our skies. The advent of the internet and digital cameras has created a spontaneous network of observers around the world who share their many observations of bizarre contrail emissions on YouTube. An online source for this and other historical films can be found online at criticalpast.com.
So if you haven't seen that clip before, and that was of course, so I cut it a little bit short. That was narrated by Harold Save. So 1923, making curtains of clouds with chemical concoctions. This is not something new. By any stretch of the imagination. But the narrative, and, I'm just as guilty as many, I tend to focus on jet fuel a lot. And what I've said repeatedly is not only is there jet fuel pollution, plane farts making clouds, those clouds heat the planet, black carbon soot and all the metals. We've mentioned the metals. And no, I'm not talking about Pantera. I'm talking about the metals. That all of these things are in the jet fuel, and that is a big problem. But to focus solely on that is to leave out the long history of military intentions to do weather warfare, in addition to just blatant chemtrails. From Agent Orange to Agent Green, where even as early as the 1990s, Plan Colombia, where they were spraying a new type of Agent Orange called Agent Green, which was F-oxysporum, to destroy cocaine plants in South America. So there's been a long history of secret government programs to spray chemicals for all kinds of reasons. But today specifically, we're going to focus on this question that has been repeated to me 100,000 times, if not more. And I want to try to get some consensus. Let's just see, is there consensus? I'm going to go ahead and tell you that my gut's saying there is no consensus. That means this is probably the best evidence of shenanigans. So that being said, what we see is, this really, was brought to the forefront probably around 2012-ish, 2013, when I first noticed videos of, Morse code skies. Let's just put it that way. That's the best way to put it. And obviously this was made pretty darn, this is prevalently played by Dane Wigington in many of his videos. The original video here, July 26, 2017, has Dane, with his, very ClimateViewer looking, intro, which he's now not using anymore. And you have to ask yourself, well, what was the original video? So I'm going to go to the original video because, Dane, of course, posted this. The past propensity of populations to deny the ongoing climate engineering atrocities is finally breaking down. Increasingly shocking and compelling video footage captures jet aircraft aerosol dispersions are rapidly eroding official false narrative that we are only seeing condensation trails in our skies. Now, ironically, I kind of agree with that. That this does not fit the normal narrative that it is, just freaking clouds spreading out from condensation trails. So, his original video, I'm gonna link it in chat. This just goes to show you, hey man, I might, poop on Dane for being a dick to other activists in my last Sunday chat. And here it is the next Sunday, I'm literally sharing a video by him. You know why? Because your boy is fickle. That's just, it's true. Like I will use whatever is necessary at the time to make the point. But anyway, so I'm not going to play Dane's, narration on this, but we'll just take a look at the original video from start to finish so we can get an idea of what we're talking about. If you've never seen one of these before, this is the video. So clearly right here, off, on, off, on, off. Plane's right here on my cursor. Plane starts up again. Imagine this is somebody's finger like over part of the camera. And then off again. Now, that's some shit. I mean, you can't argue with that. That is freaking weird. Very freaking weird. Now, if you notice real quick, no meat canyon. That might get a little weird. If you notice, it's very short here at the beginning with a larger space, and then they get shorter, they get a little longer, and then as we get up to this point, they got a great shot of it right about here. They seem pretty equidistant. Let's use a $5 word, equidistant. So it doesn't seem like this is one of those cases where, they were just jamming the gas pedal and then they just stopped and coasted for a second. It's not like they're rolling downhill is my point. But let's get the haters' perspective on this. And then we'll get into some of the other details. So what do the haters say? If you haven't heard of Mick West, the most popular chemtrail debunker out there, I'll just give you an example of how they responded to Dane Wigington's claims, and then we'll go a little deeper than that. How about that? That's where we're going to start. So over here on, when I click button, you go. I swear my Stream Deck has got like a delay on it right now. world's fastest freaking computer delay on my Stream Deck button. So we're going to put this in here. I can't believe I'm linking a freaking Metabunk article in here, but Halifax, Nova Scotia, regularly spaced gaps in contrails, Ethiopian Flight 501. So this is how they do their little, debunking tours. They start out, this is Mick West. In case you don't know, not only did Dane Wigington debate Mick West back in 2013, but I debated Mick West. Totally different results. But regardless, if you haven't heard of Mick West, now you have. You've been initiated. This is the Darth Vader of chemtrails. So they get at it. B. Baker says Mick West is good on UFOs. He's crap on chemtrails. I mean, I mostly agree with that statement. But to be quite honest with you, there have been a lot of things that I, as a early chemtrail, activist, got completely wrong. And, through arguing with while arguing with Mick West and company, I have had a lot of my beliefs shattered because of overwhelming evidence. Likewise, when it comes to things like HARP, I have literally shattered their belief systems repeatedly because inarguable proof. So it is a give and take when it comes to these people. But if you're going to live in an echo chamber and you're never going to debate people that have differing opinions than you, then you cannot and you will not grow. Through adversity, we grow. And the day we all agree is the day we could all be wrong. So, of course, you got, I'm going to assume they have an agenda. But at the same time, that doesn't mean I'm going to totally discount what they have to say. I'm going to weigh the evidence and then decide for myself. That is what you're going to do today. You're going to weigh the evidence and decide for yourself. That's what a critical thinker does. So let's go to what they got to say. So they show the video here. An excellent example of intermittent contrail formation was posted by geoengineeringwatch.org. Link right there. Link to the original video here, which is this one right here. And as you can see, Amanda White recorded this. Let me just blow it up a little bit more so you guys can see it. July 24th, 2017. And then Dane, took the video on July 26th, 2017. And I just got off the phone with Harold Saban. He's like, well, more than likely, Dane didn't just steal the video. He probably offered Amanda $150 to buy the rights to it. I don't know. But even if he had, when somebody's literally got, 23 subscribers, the gentlemanly thing to do would be link to original video here. Go subscribe to Amanda White. Do her a favor. But whatever, to each his own. So back to what, Mick West's original explanation, just gut reaction to this is, hold on, my chat's so blown up I can't even read it. I'm here for the weather. T. Oliver. Narrator blames it on spraying, but I think the clue is in the image at the top of this post, perpendicular to the trail, are 5 parallel clouds. And yeah, I noticed that as well. At the very beginning of the video, what you notice is, where's the shot? Because there's a zoom out shot. Yeah, you can't even see it in this one. What's that all about? Right there. So what you notice is, look, if you draw a perpendicular line, clouds. So it's not just, if you notice that they line up with the clouds, there's a little bit of something there, okay? I'll give them that. I did see that. That is weird. Okay. But perpendicular to the thing. So basically it could be Lee waves. So if you don't know what Lee waves is, as a guy named James Lee, I'm going to have to explain that. Lee waves are also known as gravity waves. Gravity waves and Lee waves are very simple. In meteorology, Lee waves are atmospheric stationary waves. They're usually caused by ground-based sources. They cause perturbations in the sky. One of the most famous examples of a Lee wave is right here. And this is taken from Amsterdam Island in the southern Indian Ocean, December 19, 2005. And as you can see from the image, right here at the bottom, there is an island. It's a very tall volcanic island. And that creates Lee waves, which literally span all the way across the Indian Ocean. So these are huge ripples, much like the wake on a boat, which cause these cloud formations to come out in stripes. So Mick West's original, gut reaction to the video is maybe these are Lee waves. Lee waves are responsible for all types of clouds that cause breaks in clouds, or for clouds to be linear. Okay. So that's where he originally goes with this. And I'm going to go back. They faded the video really quick. So anyway, we're going to move down. This seems to be the original video. Already showed you that. Then they get to doing their sleuthing. And they're like, looks like Ethiopia 501 seems to be going in the right direction, flying east just south of Halifax. Link right here. Then he starts showing it from Google Earth in Flight Aware. Original KML file right here. You can bring it up yourself. And then they show this shot, which is actually, you could view it in ClimateViewer 3D. And as you can see, if you don't know where we're talking about, this is North America right here. And this is Nova Scotia up here. Let's just switch it to Bing Maps. That way you can actually see the labels. Are they going to work? Anyway. So this is the actual trail that was caught in the video. And what do you see? There is the Morse code dashes caught via satellite. Okay. Right there. Boom, 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 boom. And then straight from then on. Okay. So they start to make all kinds of arguments about, oh, well, maybe it was because of relative humidity. Maybe it was because of this. Speed and altitude graph for the flight, all that sort of stuff. Well, there was some screwing, with the speed and altitude. It did vary so much. The altitude pretty much stayed the same, right at about 31,000 feet, but the speed varied a lot. So maybe that had something to do with it. And they go on, and then they even line up the Ethiopian flight with the satellite image, all that sort of stuff. Bring up Nullskull's weather map, wind map, show where all of that stuff is. And they're trying to figure it out desperately. But at the end of the day, they really don't have any good explanations for why these dashed clouds are here. And you'll see that as a recurring theme over and over again. He said, here's an animation from yesterday afternoon showing the dynamic nature of the atmosphere in Nova Scotia. And he zooms in on this just to show you, because it is true that the atmosphere is pretty freaking crazy and that it does all kinds of random stuff. So it looks like most of the clouds are coming from the northeast headed northwest, but then you can see right here at the green dot where the viewer is, some actually turning back around and coming the other direction. So that being said, shout out to Tom McDonald, American Flags. We're not going to. Suggestions kind of give away what I've been watching, don't they? They're telling on me. They're telling on me. So anyway, there's a lot here. You can go through all their arguments, but yeah, it's 100% match. They know that it's Ethiopian airs. And, I find this part very interesting. So right here, Mick West tries to go on to Dane Wigington's video and say, The flight has been identified as Ethiopian 501 at 31,000 feet over Halifax, Nova Scotia, July 23rd, 2017. Video starting at 1:34 local time. It's a regular scheduled passenger flight. The original video is here. And he says, however, it does look like I'm banned there. Perhaps a more neutrally considered person could post the info for me. You know, and then shows pictures of it and all that stuff. So after all of their, you know, sleuthing, basically they came up with, well, you know, it's Ethiopian Air and, you know, it's just a passenger flight. And, you know, we think that it might have something to do with lee waves. Then they go on to say, nah, that's not really possible. And then they go on to say, well, maybe it's, you know, because of relative humidity. And they're like, nah, that's not even possible, because they show the atmospheric, you know, relative humidity and all that sort of stuff. So it isn't lining up. And the reason I'm pointing this out is because in order for you to understand what I'm about to show you, you need to know who Mick West is and what Mick West does. So why is any of this important? Because Mick West paired up with a geoengineer. That geoengineer was named Ken Caldera. Don't know who Ken Caldera is? I'll bring him up on the screen for you. Just so we can put, I like to have a face with a name, you know, maybe somebody's never heard of Ken Caldera. How that's possible, and you're talking about geoengineering, I don't know, but it is possible. So I'm going to bring up my website real quick. This is at climateviewer.com/geoengineering. Link in the chat right there. And you come down here and you scroll down to who's funding geoengineering research and governance. That is Ken Caldera. The other guy we're going to be talking about, right, that's Ken Caldera right there. David Keith also. These are probably the two most hated men in geoengineering. And we're going to be talking about Alan Robach in a minute. So might as well throw him in there too. Mick West is sus. To Foo King's OC. Yeah, he's always been sus. For little side note, did you know that Mick West actually worked on the video game Tony Hawk Pro Skater? That he was a programmer that helped design the original game Tony Hawk Pro Skater. Just fun fact. Anyway, so Mick West and company paired up with Ken Caldera. And as you can see here, there's Mick West and there's Ken Caldera. Quantifying expert consensus against the existence of a secret large-scale atmospheric spraying program, or SLAP. Now, this paper pretty much is a slap in the face to everybody who's been following this for a very long time. But if you don't know about this paper, it's kind of important. So I'm going to throw this one in chat as well. I was lazy. I was late. I did not put the links in the details, so you guys are just going to have to get them from the chat. If you're watching this somewhere else and you haven't come over here, watch the live replay on ClimateViewer on YouTube, at ClimateViewer on YouTube, and everything else you can find on ClimateViewer.com, ways to support the channel, all that sort of stuff. So this paper was specifically to debunk the whole narrative. Do I have him up here on the next video? Yeah, I have it. This video right here I have up from the original Vimeo. So we'll play it from his Vimeo, explaining why they made such a research program. Take it away.
Our new paper was born of day-to-day interactions with people who've increasingly asked us about chemtrails, the idea that there's a secret program administered by the government to spray toxic chemicals from airplanes for nefarious purposes. Although the specific purposes of such a hypothetical program vary depending on whom you ask. Although the chemtrails conspiracy has been around for quite a while, in recent years it's been bolstered by scientific research on geoengineering, in particular modeling studies that have looked at whether and how adding reflective particles to the upper atmosphere might reduce global warming. Some of my climate scientist colleagues, including our co-author Ken Caldera, have published results of this sort of computer modeling of geoengineered climates, and have for this reason been targeted by those who believe that this means they are complicit in the secret spraying of harmful chemicals. In my own experience, I've encountered everyday folks who, when they learn that I'm a researcher working on climate science and energy issues, ask me, what do I think about the chemtrails conspiracy theory? I've typically told them that it seems far-fetched to me, but that I'm not an expert in atmospheric chemistry or atmospheric deposition. However, I didn't find that sort of answer terribly satisfying to give, and I can't imagine that they found it terribly satisfying either. And when I searched for scientific analyses refuting conspiracy claims, I found that there were no peer-reviewed studies addressing chemtrails' claims. Thus, we decided to survey a group of experts in atmospheric chemistry and biogeochemistry in order to ask them to evaluate the photos and laboratory reports that are purported to be evidence of chemtrails on various websites. In each case, we asked these experts whether they had ever come across evidence that they thought indicated the existence of a secret spraying program, whether the simplest explanation for what they saw in the photos or lab results was such a program, and if not, what they thought was a more likely explanation. Of the 77 experts we surveyed, 76 said they had not encountered evidence of a secret spraying program, that the simplest explanation for what they saw in the photographs and lab results was not such a program.
And one actually said, yeah, I saw a lot of barium.
And instead offered explanations based on well-understood physics and chemistry, such as differences in air humidity, airplane engines, and aviation fuels. The one participant who answered yes was a geochemist who said the evidence he or she had come across was, quote, high levels, end quote, of atmospheric barium in a, quote, remote area with standard low soil barium, end quote. We are not so naive as to think these results will convert the true believers in the chemtrails conspiracy theory. The point of publishing these results in a peer-reviewed scientific journal is to establish a credible source of information for those who encounter chemtrails claims and go looking for the perspective of scientific experts. As we state in the paper's conclusion, it's entirely reasonable that ordinary citizens should want questions answered concerning health, climate change, and pollution, and many of the fears underlying chemtrails conspiracy theory are legitimate. But in the eyes of scientists, the evidence does not point to a secret spraying program, and the focus...
Your fears are legitimate, but science says no.
...on such conspiracies may be taking attention away from real underlying problems that need addressing. Thanks.
Okay, so that's Jay Davis. For anybody who's wondering who that dude is, Stephen J. Davis right here. And this is his page on Slap. His claim to fame, I guess you could say. So paper profile, explanations here, as well as nice big infographic on just the results. So we could go into, the entire freaking PDF and be nerdy. But I don't want to, dig too deeply into this. I just want to focus on this infographic because it kind of says it all. And furthermore, if you go to the original page where this is posted, you'll see that some of the images are actually, they're missing. So as you can see here, results, 77 experts surveyed, 98.7, 76 said they had not encountered evidence, while one found a whole bunch of atmospheric barium where it should not have been. But then when they get to the explain what the hell you see here, it literally says photo viewable at Stephen J. Davis's website. So you got to come over here to actually see the picture. I don't know why they wouldn't include these photos in the actual paper, but whatevs, right? All right, so let's take a look at the results. Question 1. Why is this one making a line and these two are not? And they come over here, simplest explanation. Get slapped in the face, you chemtards. Here's what the scientists say. About 39% said different humidity atmospheric conditions for that. Different altitudes for that. So maybe this one's flying lower, these are flying higher. They do appear to be flying higher, but regardless, sometimes that's very hard to tell from the ground. Different combustion efficiency engine. Different combustion efficiency engine. I don't know why, 6 say this and 5 say this. It sounds like exactly the same answer. And then 7 had other answers. That's the number of experts. Now remember, there's 77 experts, and for some reason, never in any of these charts do you see 100% of respondents. So why some people decided not to give an answer says more than the answers that they give. But what is pointed out repeatedly in their own study to discredit the chemtrail conspiracy is when they polled 77 scientists, they didn't agree. I mean, how many times have you heard 97% of scientists agree global warming is a thing and it's caused by CO2 and cow farts? 97%. But on something as silly or stupid to them as a secret large-scale aerosol program or SLAP, not the chemtrail conspiracy because they don't want to label it that, while talking about it's just a chemtrail conspiracy, they can't even agree on something as simple as, hey, bud, take a look at this picture. Tell me what the hell you think's going on. We got 5 different answers. I'm leaning towards different altitudes plus a combination of different combustion engine efficiency. But that's not what this video about. This video about this. Why are there breaks in the trail? And I think that this specifically is the most telling answer from this paper. Now you can see up here, 100% no, number 49. So 49 out of the 77 people responded no. This is not evidence of a chemtrail conspiracy. What you looking at, Harold? What you linking? Yeah. Contrails are warming the planet. Another one that's really big right now is IATA. Release a strategic roadmap to show net zero. That's not it. Non CO2. Global airlines group to boost focus on non-CO2 emissions. That it's not the CO2 that they're worried about coming. This is May 31st, 2023, people. It's them chemtrails. That's what they're concerned about now. They're concerned about the clouds. Their clouds. In fact, I just recently did it. If you watched the last video about Harold, give me a second. I got to bring up the voice call thing. Where's it at? Right here. If you look at this one right here, toward elimination of soot emissions from jet fuel combustion, they really nail it on the head, and they say, look, Soot from jet fuel combustion in aircraft engines contributes to global warming through the formation of contrail cirrus clouds that make up to 56% of the total radiative force from aviation. And then they say this, about 1 million tons of carbonaceous soot nanoparticles are released every year from aviation through incomplete combustion of jet fuel. 1 million tons of soot every year from jet fuel burning. But anyway, let me pull this over here. Let me get the voice chat up because Harold's already called twice, and we'll let him go ahead and jump in on this thing. Uno momento, por favor. All right, there we go. And let me make sure everything's all set up. And just bear with me for one moment. We'll get back to this thing. So, all right, here we go. And
Yeah.
hey, what's up, Harold?
Every year for
Good. Mute your YouTube. Just watch the screen, but don't have the sound going in the background.
Right.
All right, cool. Welcome to the program, everybody. I'm gonna let Harold tell you who he is for a moment before we get back to it. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Harold Saban. I live in Gainesville, Florida, and I'm retired since about 1999, and have been looking at these trails and the aircraft that have been leaving the trails for a long time. I have a lot of cameras, but we live in Tree City, so I don't have an opportunity to photograph very much in the sky. But several years ago, we had an aircraft come over and leave trails coming out of the back of the aircraft, and I took a candid shot of that. That didn't convince anybody very much. But I'm here to, I've got a Substack also that has some of these issues posted on them. So I'm here to thank Jim for just all the information that we have about what's in the fuel. And that's really half the battle right there, because these are forever chemicals in a lot of ways. And they go over flight corridors that are repeated day after day, aircraft after aircraft, and this stuff falls to the ground, and it's contributing to a lot of problems.
Acid rain.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about acid rain anymore.
Acid rain and what's on the ground that's interfering with the biota, including insects and protected species and stuff like that. And the stuff just doesn't go away. So there's got to be another solution for this travel. We got more aircraft in the United States than in any other country in the world. And they go back and forth and forth and back. As a matter of fact, my son is so averse to traveling by air that he drove from Texas to Florida to meet me here.
I have driven from Arizona, from Oregon to Arizona, then from Arizona to South Carolina, and back 5 times on I-20.
Yeah. Well, the aircraft are not fitted with catalytic converters, for one thing. So we've got a big problem with these emissions, and Jim has done a great job pointing all that stuff out, and that's the reason I tune in frequently to the show. So that's where I'm coming from.
Very cool.
So what are the issues?
So I'm gonna bring this up on the screen, and you tell me how stupid these responses are. All right. So they asked the 77 experts on why there were blanks, on off during the spring that we see overhead. And here's their answers. So about 40% said different humidity / dry air. 40 of the respondents said that. 11 said subsistence or upwelling of air. That basically there were jets of air shooting up, breaking that into equidistant, dashes. Those people not very smart. Then they said 8 experts responded different temperatures / warm air. Which also, again, doesn't make any sense. In fact, if you go back to the Metabunk post, where Mick West and his team of Sky Sleuths were going through, they actually debunked that themselves, because in the case of the Dane Wigington / I like to give credit, Amanda White video, they showed that the temperature was almost completely uniform over all of Nova Scotia at the altitude that the plane was flying, and the plane pretty much stayed at the same altitude throughout the entire flight. So again, that one makes no sense. 4 responded with lower level cloud, and then 9 responded with other. I would really like to see a breakdown of the actual responses from the individual people, like what they actually said instead of these generalized results. But that says a lot right there, that in total of the 77 people that are experts on this topic, that when you look at it, you got 77 people. You ask them why there's dashes and dots in the sky, only 49 would even give an answer. And of the 49 that gave an answer, 40, basically 40 said it's just different humidity, dry air. This math doesn't add up right here. 100% no, number 49. So I guess, I don't know how they're figuring this. The 40 plus the other equals 49. But then, you got 11 more over here, 8 more over here. They're all saying different things. They don't have a clue. They don't have it figured out either. So why not just say that? Why not be honest and say, look, we cannot explain this. We have guesses, but we cannot explain this. I cannot explain this. This is not explained by, engine thrust. The car wasn't just like, stuttering and about to, fart out in the sky. You can't pull over on the side of the road to go, why is my engine going put? So none of these answers make any sense. Would you agree?
I missed the part about what are the credentials of the people who responded.
So he said that basically they were all experts. I think towards the end of the paper, they actually reference all of the experts. Let me see if I can find that real quick while we're live on the air.
I'm not an expert, but I do have a private pilot license. And my uncle was a National Airlines flight instructor.
All right, I'm going to show the experts.
So we've been in aviation for a long time, one way or another.
So here's your experts. I'm not going to read all their names, but you kind of see the picture here. Penn State University, NOAA, NCAR, National Center for Atmospheric Research. You can see a lot of NCAR. NCAR is one of the top atmospheric institutes in the world. It's also the most important weather modification university research. It's in Boulder, Colorado. So anytime you see NCAR, kind of a red flag. But anyway, NCAR, NASA, University of Wisconsin-Madison, NOAA, Aerodyne Research, German Aerospace Center, DLR, that's Germany's NASA, University of Athens, Northwest Research Associates, Droplet Measurement Technologies, NASA, NASA, Manchester Metropolitan University, West Virginia University, University of Wisconsin Whitewater, NASA, University of Athens, Reading, Observatory on Atmospheric Physics, Claremont Ferrand, Max Planck Institute for Meteorology. I mean, so it's all over the board. You could clearly see that, they tried to go the extra mile to find, 77 people from around the world who all have, credentials. And the list goes on and on. I mean, bruh, right here, Matt Culp, U.S. National Park Service. Like, how'd he sneak in there? That's probably the one guy that was like, hey, I saw barium in the sky.
That's right.
I want to know which one it was. Maybe it was the Czech University for Life Sciences Prague, because, only somebody from, Czechoslovakia would be like, screw all you guys. I'm gonna be the one to say, hey man, I smelled some barium up there. But yeah, they're all named here at the bottom of the paper.
How many of these people are working for an outfit that's funded by the National Science Foundation, and have got a lip lock on what they say about what's happening?
You make an excellent point, and the point that's why I had this up on the screen earlier. Where did it go? Right here, geoengineering. So if you look at climateviewer.com/geoengineering and you look at who's funding geoengineering, what you'll find is the National Science Foundation right here is the largest funder of solar radiation management research in the world. This was in 2014.
There's your clue right there.
Yeah.
And going, if you want to go back to that aerial view of the Morse code, that satellite view of the Morse code spraying that showed the dashes on, dashes off, dashes on, dashes off. One thing I noticed is any kind of a cloud formation that's going to change abruptly, change the humidity is going to be a gradual entrance and a gradual exit. What you have there was an abrupt on and abrupt off, which is an unnatural, it's not conducive with a natural event or cloud humidity change. And there you got it.
Yep.
And the other important thing is that when the dashes stop, it continues with a persistent contrail. It's not just a contrail, it's a persistent contrail which requires different atmospheric conditions for the formation of the trail. The upper atmosphere has to be at a very high relative humidity to begin with, so that the engine effect will supersaturate the atmosphere and cause the trail to persist. And that's what causes it to persist, because the trail has virtually made a cloud out of the trail. Yeah. Now,
so you bring up a good point there, and I believe let me just go here and I'll hop over to the weather modification history real quick. So that was the Cossack study. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
The cloud. Anyway, I'll bring it up on the screen real quick. So all I got to do is go here to weather modification history, type in Cossack, and here you go. Contrails spreading into cirrus, and excuse me. So what you see here is this is an actual animation, and I'm going to bring it up real big, of an E3 AWACS by itself covering almost all of the United Kingdom.
There you go.
And that's what you're talking about right there. So literally you see the circles, the spiral circles of the E3 AWACS radar, in the sky. And this was during the 2008 Iceland volcano that grounded all flights. So the only flights in the sky at the time were military flights. and specifically over the United Kingdom, there was a single E3 AWACS operating, and its exhaust or whatever basically created all of those clouds because not just because of what the plane was doing, but later Lee et al. 2009, when they did the study, they were pretty much berated because they didn't mention that, well, there's all of this soot already in the sky from the volcano.
Right.
So it was even worse than normal. But yeah.
Well, sometimes the conditions, very rarely, let's put it that way, very rarely at altitude. And if they were flying at a lower altitude, a persistent contrail is worth considering. But as you increase in altitude, the relative humidity decreases, and the high bypass engine does not allow, the efficiency of the bypass engine is so good that it doesn't really emit that much water vapor because of the efficiency, because it uses the bypass as part of the thrust.
Yeah, but at the same time, that almost, I think that it's a misconception, honestly, because the more efficient an engine is, the more heat it extracts, and this was actually highlighted during the access flights. I saw Vicky in chat just linked this formation and radiative force of contrail cirrus. Yeah, I have seen this before, Vicky. I was just checking to see which Nature article you were linking, but everybody's got it in chat, so I'm gonna hop back over here.
But let me say something just to polish off what I was going to finish with, is that this does not preclude the formation of contrails. That condition of engine efficiency, as a matter of fact, contrails can be easier to form. However, they are much thinner and they're much more transparent than they would be if there was more water vapor available. Also, the trails can begin a lot quicker after the exit from the engine because of that high bypass mix at the engine thrust combined with a bypass thrust. The convergence of those two things can cause the trail to begin, but the trail naturally is going to be much thinner. It'll be transparent in almost every case with a high bypass engine. This is where I disagree with Dane.
Yeah. And as do I. So here, let me go to this biofuel thing. Where is it? Clearly I'm gonna need to go to the timeline entries. 1 second.
But you can't have ice crystals coming directly out of that high bypass engine, even if there is a mix there. It's just too much heat. So there's another element in that exhaust that we can never see up close enough to determine whether it's coming from the engine or whether it's coming from the nozzle located just directly beneath the engine. How about that?
Save the nozzle for now, because we're gonna get into the nozzle in just a minute, okay? But
that's Alan Robach's wish list.
Yeah, but I did some pretty damn serious digging, and I think you're gonna be surprised at who I found. How about Max Bliss taking it to another Chemtrail community member, and such and such, basically going, why are you putting this disinfo out? And then drops patent and all that. And even this is on, they've got a screenshot of Mick West going, damn, Max Bliss literally just ripped him a new one over that. So we'll get into that in just a second. So I dropped this link in chat, jet biofuel enlisted for contrail control. And this is where I found, Ulrich Schumann from Germany's DLR and, basically, and the boys, they were testing biofuels for contrail control. This is called the alternative fuel effects on contrails and cruise emissions. This is a plane sniffing a plane fart, as you can see on the screen here. So as they're burning these different types of biofuels, they're testing them and all of this sort of stuff. They're showing about, how this affects the climate, yada, yada, yada. This is an actual video of them sniffing the plane farts, and all of the particles, you're going to see it right here on the side. When they go up and they get a big, then you can see the charts go off, it goes way up with the charts right there. And you can see, ultrafine particles, fine particle concentration, non-volatile particle concentration. So they're flying up in there with some really expensive equipment. Dane is not the only one to ever do this, just for the record. This has been going on for many years from the University of Finland that found all the metals I mentioned earlier, to the Access flights, the ND Max, eCliff 2, all of these different programs where they're going up and smelling these chemtrails. But if you look at the actual PowerPoint presentation, and I believe it's right here. Let me go to that, and would it go all the way to the end? It went all the way to the end. No, it went right here. So on there is this slide, and I want you to see this and tell me what you think. So this is alternative fuel effects on contrail and cruise emissions access to flight experiment. Bruce Anderson, NASA Langley Research Center. And this is also from the Fundamental Aeronautics Fixed Wing Project at NASA, Germany's DLR, and the Canadian National Research Council Canada. And, they go through the same chart that I showed earlier from Leah et al. 2009. And estimated radiative forcing. I'm not going to get into all the nerdy stuff, but this slide right here says it all. More efficient aircraft create more contrails. Newer engines extract more heat to perform work, have cooler exhaust, higher relative humidity. Contrail-induced cloudiness may increase on par with or more rapidly than CO2 emissions. Ulrich Schumann, 2000. So back in 2000, he was saying this, and I've read so much Ulrich Schumann, it is insane. If you want to talk about the top expert in the world on contrail / plane fart, emissions and the clouds they make, Ulrich Schumann is the top guy on the planet. And this actually makes sense, not just from a, science perspective, but from a gut perspective for me, because you have, in effect, a large compressor. The air already has water vapor in it. And then you have a much cooler temperature engine design. Would you agree on that? Because it's mostly the fan blade that provides most of the propulsion, correct?
Here's what I agree on. I agree that the water vapor from a combustion engine, the higher the less efficient the engine is, the more water vapor is produced. So with the advertised efficiency of these engines, it doesn't make any sense that it would produce a heavy contrail. The conditions are probably set up to produce more frequent contrails, but like I said before, it'd be much more transparent and much more ethereal than what we see in the sky coming out of the bellies of these aircraft, producing a fifth contrail where only 4 engines on the jet.
Yeah,
and 3 contrails.
And I agree. That has no explanation here whatsoever. But specifically on the high bypass, cannot create. This is something that Dane Wiggin always says. The Wiggintonian himself says they cannot produce clouds at all.
Well, I'm stuck in the middle. There's no way that there's going to be zero water vapor from these engines. There can be less with more efficiency. As the efficiency goes up, the water vapor goes down. That's pretty
Well, actually,
basic
that
point.
that would be the opposite because all right, so maybe I will get into the nerd chart. So let me go back to the screen. And what they have here is engine fuel combustion, air N2 plus O2 coming into the engine, fuel CN HM plus S, complete combustion products, CO2, H2O, N2, O2, SO2. Anybody need me to translate? All right, so carbon dioxide, water, nitrogen dioxide, O2 is peroxide, and then SO2 is sulfur dioxide. So that would be complete combustion products. But then it says right here, actual combustion products. CO2 plus H2O plus N2 plus O2 plus nitrous oxides. It says NOx, so that all of the different amounts of nitrogen oxide, C plus CO, carbon monoxide, plus HC plus soot plus SOx, meaning SO1, 2, 3. That's what the X stands for. So we don't have complete burn on just about any fuel. So there's different amounts of chemicals coming out. And then they say, what do each of these do? Direct emissions, CO2, ocean uptake, causes, ocean acidification, whatever. Nitrogen, chemical reactions, changes in radiative force of components. So they have this like flow chart. Actually, the one that I have on my timeline post is much more thorough, to be quite honest with you, than the one they even have here, because it really breaks it down into all the different the different sections. So aerosol cloud interactions are all over here. So HC and CO, SOX, black carbon star, BC, so soot. So black carbon, particulate matter, changes cloud cover, all of that stuff. So they have this entire flow chart of how, different, burn amounts affect the climate. And then they say down here at the bottom, impacts agriculture and forestry, ecosystems, energy production and consumption, human health, social effects, etc. Social effects. What the hell do they mean by social effects? How about all of the fact that, the dudes literally did a study on the social effects? The SLAP program was all about the social effects on the internet from all of these cameras now pointed at the sky, catching all of these shady ass things that you're talking about. I'm gonna jump ahead and we're gonna just play your video. Okay, so this is your Alan Robach video. Geoengineer Alan Robach prefers nozzles to spray aerosols. Mind if I play it real quick?
Yeah.
All right, got permission. Hey, YouTube. I got permission from the copyright holder. We're going to play this beautiful video. This is at Harold Save on YouTube. Everybody, you are commanded in chat. You must subscribe to the man on the phone, Harold Save. Formerly Chemtrails Planet, now a news paradigm. Take it away.
Here we can see an Airbus A380 spraying huge exhaust plumes in a clear blue sky, with high probabilities of low relative humidity. We can use three observations to rule out textbook science that says contrails are a result of water vapor as a byproduct of engine combustion. First, the beginning of the visible trail is too close to the hot engine exhaust. You'll need to prove how a hot jet engine can eject ice crystals directly or only inches away from the hot jet exhaust.
So first off, you say that, the hot jet exhaust. And this is the big difference what they were talking about, the efficiency of the high bypass turbofan, that it's a much cooler at the exit of the nozzle. Whereas
Exactly.
with the older designs, you would see it much further away. There'd be a much larger gap before you saw the formation of ice. But because it's so cool at the exhaust, exit, and because it cools so rapidly, and because of the compression of air, basically all of that air is being funneled into a stream of cloud seeds. And that's the soot, that's the metals, all of that. That's why high bypass turbofans are more efficient cloud creators, in my personal opinion. And you would say you're full of shit, Jim?
I think there's an agenda here, and all of the written documentation on this stuff is nudging people into plausible deniability, including me and probably you, on certain issues.
That's why. That's why I want to have you on here. That's why I want to have this discussion, because I don't have an agenda other than the truth. Not your truth or my truth, the truth. So, the day we all agree is the day we could all be wrong. And I want to explore this from every possible angle. I'm not going to take Germany freaking Ulrich Schumann's word for it, but I also want to be able to take observational data, conversations with other like-minded individuals, and conversations with people I completely freaking disagree with, like Mick West, and then try to figure it out in between.
And so let's, what do you think about J. Marvin Herndon's study in his chemtrails are not contrails?
I think that he is. Now, I've talked to Herndon on the phone, and after he got his paper, kicked out of the journals, after he got his, official slap on the wrist, and we all know about that. In fact, it's documented on your page. He came to me and was basically looking for something very specific. Not going to get into the details, but I provided it for him. And I told him, I said, dude, if you literally took your paper and you replaced coal fly ash, which was a conspiracy started by the Harp Report. Do we agree on that part? That he was the first person to say coal fly ash?
He's the one, he proposed coal fly ash, but based on an analysis of what was found on the ground compared to what's in coal fly ash. So he says it's consistent with, it was not proof,
right?
But it was consistent with, and
we can agree that the Harp Report came before J. Marvin Herndon. He was the first person to say coal fly ash.
Well, it's the only thing that's in enough abundance to fill up a tank on practically every airliner in the United States, for one thing, and it's a way to get rid of it to keep from having to form these very dangerous and sludge ponds on these coal burning power plants. So logically, it makes sense, and it fits the agenda that these chemtrails are regarded as contrails, and we know that contrails have been found to warm the climate. So that's the agenda that I see. That's the agenda they don't want to admit. They want to blame it on aircraft contrails so that they can say, well, we're going to do away with aircraft. Okay, so and if they stop spraying the skies with this stuff and stop trying to warm the planet with this stuff, they're afraid everything will cool off, so they don't dare stop spraying.
So for those who don't know about coal fly ash and what he's talking about, I have a coal fly ash map. So I'm going to bring this up and I'm going to drop the link in chat so you two can look at this. To share a map on ClimateViewer 3D, you go to options, instructions, hit share, and it'll create you a link that you can share with other people. So I'm going to share this map in chat right now. There you go. You can click that and follow along. But right now I'm at the Big Cajun Tube plant in Louisiana. Annual tons of ash, 475,849 tons of ash per year. Annual tons of ash in ponds, 176,000 tons of ash. Percent of ash in ponds, 37%, data from 2006, National Resource Defense Coalition. And you can go through all of these and just click them real quick. Jackson Water Plant. And you could fly down to them simply by clicking on the camera here, come down, and see the coal fly ash pond yourself. So needless to say, I know what you're talking about, and I know the abundance of it, but this is what coal fly ash ponds look like. Or just, you can see.
And that's the reason they're trying to avoid them.
This is literally within, this is 100 meters. So this is about 100 meters. Right here's 50 meters, as the thing shows right here. So we're talking about 50, 100, 150 meters away from the Mississippi River.
If you listen to Dane's interview with RFK Jr., you'll hear RFK Jr. spill the beans that Bill Gates is heavily invested in energy, and has the wherewithal to manipulate all of the byproducts of energy combustion. That was the implication I got from his comment.
That he was saying about, being in that he's involved in trains, and he's got his own airline. And I mean, look what I just found. Check this one out. What's that in the bottom corner?
I don't know.
That's a wet surface air cooler right next to a coal fly ash pond. There
you go.
But yeah, so I went and I mapped a whole bunch of these out a long time, and it's surprising to me that so many of these are right next to major rivers. And I don't know if that's because boats pull up and ship this shit off. But usually you'll find like train tracks nearby, something like that. But the thing that I can't understand about the coal fly ash theory is that you clearly can't put coal fly ash into the jet fuel. As far as no. Yeah, it would have to be directly in a completely separate container.
Right out the nozzle.
Yeah. Oh, that's the Goodyear blimp. I looked over at ADSB Exchange real quick, and I saw a dirigible, and I'm like, what the F? There's a freaking balloon, like a big old Zeppelin. And, oh, it's the Goodyear blimp. Okay. Yeah. That explains that. No, it's not the Goodyear blimp. It says Pathfinder 1, LTA Research and Exploration. Anyway, I'm just watching for military flights on ADSB Exchange on the third monitor right now. Let's go back to your video real quick and let that roll on a little further. Where were we here?
Of up to 300 degrees Celsius. Water vapor typically remains in the vapor stage above freezing for at least 20 to 35 feet from the jet exhaust at cruise altitude before it mixes with ambient air temperatures of minus 50 degrees Celsius to condense.
So whatever I'm playing the video, it's not going to play through the microphone, unfortunately.
No, but I'm watching the monitor.
Yeah, they can hear it. You can't, and because if I fed the sound through the mic, it would actually cause a feedback loop. So that's
okay. So there's no video, is what you hear. Here we go.
Yeah, I've got the video. There's going to be a delay of about 30 seconds, I think.
Oh, I didn't
between
know that much.
What we're talking about and what you see on the screen.
That's into visible ice crystals that NASA calls contrails. Number 2, the trail from number 3 engine, counting from left to right, is distinctly different
in
density
and
color compared to the...
So you're talking about this one right here. The difference in this plume.
Yeah.
What do you think that's caused by?
A third, if we're talking about nozzles, that nozzle is either a different nozzle or the flow to the nozzle has been augmented compared to the other three.
All right, so let's get over here to your nozzles, okay? Because this is where right about here at 138 is where you start talking about the nozzles, and this has been one of those that everybody's asked about as well.
Or not.
Let's let that play.
Some critics claim the nozzles are only...
Okay, so I'm going to pause it just for a second so everybody can get a good look at what we're talking about. Now, of course, Dane Wigington swears that the engines themselves cannot create clouds at all, and that everything is coming out of these nozzles. And Harold is of a different mindset that these can be used to either augment the trails that can't, because engines can create contrail cirrus. That they create contrails that turn into cirrus clouds, but that you could also go the Alan Robach route. And matter of fact, let's read real quick just so that everybody's on the same page. What did Alan Robach actually say? Because I have it up on the screen right here. Let's see. Which one is it? Robach. It's number 7. This is from Benefits Risks. Here, I'll just drop it in the link in chat. This is from Alan Robach's own mouth with the DOI.org link. Benefits, risks, and costs of stratospheric geoengineering. Click up here to number 7. What did he say? Alan Robach said options for dispersing gases from planes include the addition of sulfur to the jet fuel, which would release the aerosol through the exhaust system of the plane, or the attachment of a nozzle to release sulfur from within its own tank within the plane, which would be a better option. You agree with that, right? That's where you got the title from, correct?
Yeah, this is the plausible deniability that they talk about, because they're telling you what they're doing to send your brain into overdrive on cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, so right now we're talking about attachment of a nozzle to release sulfur from within its own tank, or coal fly ash, as you were stating, right?
Well, that's a theory. It's an unproven theory, but it's consistent with what the analysis was.
I agree on that. I totally agree on that. So coming back to your video, this would be what Alan Robach would be talking about, and he's not the only one to say it. There's multiple different ones saying something similar. That we describe an alternate method in which aerosols form rapidly in the plume following injection of sulfuric acid, a condensable vapor from an aircraft. We explore the possibility of forming sulfate aerosols in aerosol plume by emission of H2SO4 sulfuric acid vapor rather than SO2. Depending on the injection method, SO3 vapor may be emitted rather than sulfuric acid, but it quickly converts to H2SO4. So even if you put SO2 out, anyway, they go through a whole bunch of different ones where they literally say, inject sulfate aerosols emitted by aviation fuel or pumps and pipes. This one, here's the one I was looking for. Modification of cirrus clouds to reduce global warming, 2009. Quote, dissolved or suspended in their jet fuel and later burned with the fuel to create a seeding aerosol, or number 2, injected into hot engine exhaust, which would vaporize the seeding material, allowing it to condense as an aerosol in the jet contrail. And that is right here, David L. Mitchell. I'll drop that link in chat as well. So I've combed through, all of these different scenarios where they've discussed, geoengineering. Scientists, researchers have discussed using both jet fuel or pumps and pipes. So either emitted by burning the fuel itself or pumping it in. So
you can actually see this happen on some of the emissions. If you see where I remark about bifurcated trails, one is coming from the engine, is one coming from the pipes. And if you notice the aftermarket workmanship on those are not from the factory. They don't come out of the factory that way from Boeing or whoever makes the aircraft. They're aftermarket products that are hammered in there with dissimilar metals that don't even bother to paint them. And the other thing is they're talk about they're saying that these are drain tubes for condensation that builds up inside the engines. I'd like to know how much condensation builds up when the temperature is 40 degrees below zero at flight altitude. There's no way any water is going to be draining out of these tubes until the plane lands. And you never see any water come out of the tubes when the plane lands and everything begins to thaw out. So those are chemtrail tubes by any standard. You can't drain water. It's 30,000 feet. It's ice.
So I would point you to this little chat right here. I'm going to drop this in Facebook. This is from the 737 handbook. And they talk about exactly that they are drain tubes. That, in fact, somebody corrects the author at the top and says, this is called the HPTACC, high pressure turbine active clearance control, not air case cooling. That over here, we're going to let it play just a little bit longer.
Are sea trails corroding all plant engines, electronics? Have you seen blue sea trails?
Have I seen blue chemtrails? That is a good question, because I think I actually have seen some that are blue.
Some of them, yeah.
Most of the time, whenever I see some, and we had a lengthy discussion about this the other day, that Mike Decker video about where the chemtrails become black,
right.
Especially at sunset. As the sun gets lower in the sky, I noticed that what was just a couple seconds ago a bright white cloud now looks black and is turning red and yellows and all of that. But yeah, they turn black because now the light is hitting the ice crystals and diffusing away from you, instead of the sun being behind the cloud and then that light reflecting through it into your eyes. Now that light's being deflected away, which lets you see just how dirty the cloud condensation nuclei, the soot that's in the center of every piece of ice. You cannot see it normally, but as the sun gets lower in the sky, now you see these black clouds.
Well, yeah, I think you're on the verge of being delusional on that one. You can see the colors change just as the plane flies overhead. It comes out with a normal, long, persistent trail of some kind, and then it turns black right in front of the camera. And Decker has never characterized that as an if. What if? You can see one is red and one is black. Something's coming out of one nozzle, different color than the other, a different shade. This happens. You can see so many of these. If you watch 1,000 of these, you'll get it. If you watch one or two, you can use your imagination to say, well, maybe not. But over a lifetime of observation, these things reveal themselves, especially when they're combined with this fifth trail on a 4-engine jet.
Yeah, and we can agree on that. So this is some Mike Decker footage of what we're talking about with the black trail.
Yeah, he's got several of those. For some reason, they released those darker trails right over his area, right over that corridor.
He's in
and
Wyoming,
I can only imagine,
Wyoming, correct?
I can only guess why. In Wyoming. There is a balloon plant there. I've often thought that these black trails, they capture the heat and allow the balloons to levitate from one altitude to the other and to loiter correctly. And this is the reason they spray these as an assist to the balloon activity.
So this is where it gets a little crazier now, because now you're seeing actually the sunset in the cloud, and you got the red from the sunset and the black in the same shot. And it's getting darker too. So as the sun's setting, it's getting darker. Like, it wasn't this dark at the beginning. The whole sky just seems dark. But as the sun starts to set on it, you can actually see the background goes from blue to more of a yellow hue. And
yeah, I bet you look at the extension of the trail, though, you can see the little fluff that's ringing around the trail 200 meters back is black, and the trail itself is a reddish color. So there's two components to the trail. One settles out after the other. This is not water.
I think that over on the left-hand side of the screen, off in the distance, that's where the sunlight is. And
right.
the one that's blacker, they're side by side. What you got for me, Dominic? Is that your
no? No matter what excuse you make about the sun, these are persistent contrails that are too dark. First of all, they're persistent contrails in an atmosphere in Wyoming that is always below 40% relative humidity at cruise altitude. So there's no excuse for a contrail to form there if they're playing by the official rules without spraying anything either in the fuel or out of the canister. So there's your balloon right there. You just passed it in that last frame.
Where was it?
You saw the balloon as that round white thing that you're 30 seconds behind. Now you can see a little trail coming out of the middle of that one, I believe.
I'll back it up.
Yeah. That 30-second delay is getting kind of confusing. But
next time we'll have to do this on Zoom so that I can screen share with you.
Yeah, I've got to reinstall something here. I got a lot of hardware here before I can do that.
Chad's asking who we're on the phone with Harold Save from News Paradigm, formerly Chemtrails Planet, and we're looking at some footage from Mike Decker right now, and this is as he put it, carbon black dust being sprayed from commercial airlines for solar geoengineering.
You look at that aircraft, and you'll see especially it shows up on the right engine. You'll see a point where there's two trails coming out of the same engine, 2 points of emission of these trails. And you see the aftermarket installations have more than one pipe. So,
well, let's go back to that real quick, because you got your video here, and that's where we were at. So I'm going to go back to this pumps and pipes, and I'm going to let it play what you say about it, and then we'll kind of play off of that.
Some critics claim the nozzles are only drain tubes
are originating
to eliminate
from two
pylon.
places that are very close together, but you'd miss it if you didn't. If you weren't looking.
This is on the nacelle, which is technically not the pylon, but it's above the engine. Okay.
There you go.
So yeah, if you're below the plane and you're looking up at the plane and something's coming out of this, there's no way in hell you could catch it, even from the best camera in the world. The difference between it coming out of the exhaust or this, right?
But
you would agree on that, right?
You can catch the aerosols bleeding out of the forward cargo bay, coming out of the tail.
I'm going to show that as well. But let's I'm going to let.
There's not a canister on board that aircraft with something in it.
Yeah, I'm gonna let your video play and let everybody hear what you say about it first.
Moisture. This myth may have been true in the distant past, but multiple nozzles are now seen fitted to pylons with crude after-factory workmanship to drain more than just pylon water.
Was not done.
Remember, the military and government agencies will provide a cover-up story for every covert operation they want to hide from the public.
We're finding out that
we can see the nozzles are obviously installed after the aircraft left the Airbus assembly line.
So they're calling the shots on this, and they're providing
the alloys are different.
Plausible deniability
is not to Airbus factory specifications.
Confusing the issue with comments about future events and promises to block the sun with particles and stuff like that.
All right, so the video we're looking at just now with the pylon pipes, I'm gonna drop that in chat, and this would be the McWest and Company response to it. What's crazy is I'm all the way on page 8. This one really went the distance. This is from 2013, by the famous Jay Reynolds on Metabon.
Oh yeah, he retired, by the way.
Yeah, he was a hell of a fighter. Let's just put it that way. But
he worked for the oil companies, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
He was an engineer.
I finally ended up talking to him on the phone. I was just like, "Look, man, what's your fucking deal?" You know,
it's quite a coincidence, isn't it, to have a guy working for the oil company denying chemtrails?
So he says, and those tubes are called pylon drains throughout the document. This is the kind of confusing. The A320 maintenance manual shows this image, and they show the thing. Those are called pylon drains throughout the document. Besides, it's not primarily for fuel leak. They are not primarily for fuel leaks. So I think Airbus should revise this stock answer that they give. But the interesting part for me was this.
Wait a minute. Fuel leaks. You're gonna drain fuel right out of the afterburner of the aircraft engine? That's crazy. So, all of the dumping nozzles are way outboard on the wing.
Yeah, they are. They're on the very tips of the wings, practically. But it's interesting. You even hear arguing among the debunkers on the page, and he says, I think they should revise their answer. He says, also, I can't find any documentation for a quote Nassau fuel drain mask. Google has 0 hits for this, and the A320 maintenance manual has no hits for the search term fuel drain, Nassau drain, drain mast either. So I really don't understand what Robert Gage is talking about. What he says is incompatible with the manuals I see. But then you get down a little further into this thing, and it starts to get real interesting really quick. So apparently look-up.org.uk were the originators of these images. And that's where the scandal, really began. And then I scroll down till I finally see, because, I was rapid clicking links all through this going, is there any truth to any of this shit? And, people go back and forth. It's not the pylon, it's the Nassau. It's not the Nassau. Does it really matter if it's the Nassau or the pylon? Anyway, let me find the right here. So then Ian Simpson getting it in the ear from Max Bliss. And this is priceless. So I'm going to link directly to this post. All right, and you can click that. It should be in chat right now if you want to see it as well. And I have the patent up on the screen. I've already Googled this stuff as well. From the mysterious and magical Max Bliss himself, because you know how debunkers are always taking screenshots of everything because this is the popcorn of their life. Unfortunately, Ian Simpson refused my offer to help him stop misrepresenting the chemtrail movement at Cambridge. He told me to go away, not interested. I have the patent for these pylon drains from Airbus and a video of the planes being assembled with nozzles fitted pylon drain. Why did Ian refuse the information but chose to go ahead and tell lies? I do not doubt for one moment that these pylon drains are used for deployment of material to make the aerosols, etc., used in covert climate engineering. But to suggest Ian Simpson has a letter from Airbus confirming these are retrofitted is an outright lie and discredits the chemtrail movement. Why does Ian do this? And then he shows the actual patent. And then he shows this right here. Ian Simpson from Lookup deliberately embarrassing the chemtrail movement with these videos.
Yeah.
But of course, you know, the original Max Bliss post has been deleted.
A lot of patents are filed and never used. They file the patents to drop a breadcrumb.
They file the patent to go ahead and say we might want to actually make some damn money off this in the future. Is it this one right here? No, that's ADT.
They'll own the process. Exactly.
I had this damn walk around of the Airbus. Let me just go back here because I know that it's further down the page. So there's the Ian Simpson getting an earful. Why did Ian? This explains why Ian did not join Max and other protesters at the gate of the Department of Engineering. Just walked by and glared at them. So, I mean, it's always been this way, guys. Like, you think that, like, you know, me beefing with Dane or, you know, it's always been this way. Like, nobody agrees on anything in this freaking community. And if we all did agree, you probably better watch out because that probably means we're all lying to you at this point, or we're completely fucked.
Well, in 1999, the IPCC told everybody they knew that aircraft contrails were warming the climate. They tended to warm the climate. They would provide some shade during the day, maybe, artificial cirrus clouds, but at night the temperatures would not go down. They remained under the cap of these artificial clouds. So the tendency was to melt the poles.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they wanted to do. And in the chemtrail manual, there's a whole diatribe in there about the Malthusian theory about running out of resources. And the poles have a reserve of 30 or 40% left on Earth. So why wouldn't they want to melt the poles? And then and then conquer Russia to get their assets as we speak.
Well, that's the new Cold War. In case anybody hasn't looked this up, put in quotations, new Cold War, and then write Arctic drilling. And you will just see a flood of information about how America and Russia are in this fight over Arctic drilling rights. So while they tell you climate change because polar bears and shit, and we need to save the planet, they're busy fighting a new Cold War over drilling and fracking the Arctic. So that just doesn't hold any water. I put a link in chat, and this is from that same forum post where it says aircraft A340 external walk around check. Now this is a walk around check is what a pilot would do or a crew chief would do before a plane takes off that, you have like 300 points that you have to check. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Pre-flight, yeah.
yeah, pre-flight checkout. So you see the link in chat, and I'm gonna hit play on this right quick because this is pretty fascinating.
Right.
Oh, it's muted.
Island drain for leaks.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
And the pressure relief and start valve access are closed. Finally, take a look at the pylon drain for leaks.
Oh, I don't even have it on the screen. I'm a loser. And take a look at the pylon drain for leaks.
Whilst moving along the wing between engines 3 and 4, verify that the fuel magnetic indicators are flush with the wing.
Some of these aircraft have got more than 2, more than 3 pylon drains because they have different concoctions for different days, different tanks for different territory.
So according to that Facebook post, and if you really dig into their whole argument here, that there are many different reasons for, let's see, they say this is the original document right here on Scribd. Deletion notice. The A320 engine has been deleted. I swear everything goes away on the internet. It's so impossible to chase down old stuff. But here's a link to your old website. This is December 14, 2015. And it says, breaking news, chemtrailsplanet.net. Yeah. I mean, this is what happens when you're an old schooler. You go and find your own shit, like all in the middle of a discussion that you're having today. And you're like, oh yeah, 2015. Yeah. Why would an oil drain tube be installed uphill from the source of the leak? And his response to your article was, well, I'm pretty sure there are fluids, hydraulic as well as fuel, above the drain, even if the engine isn't. The next one, yeah, you'd think logic of preventing the flammable fluids above the very hot thing from actually running into the hot thing would speak for itself. Having the only drain below the very hot thing seems a little pointless. But still, none of this really makes a whole lot of damn sense. But they do have, some documentation here. Power plant this is Lufthansa technical on the A320, A321, pylon and engine drains. And they explain, exactly what that is. Drain lines are provided on the engine to collect and carry overboard waste fluids and vapors from engine systems and accessories. The drain system consists of drain collector with 4 manual drain valves for troubleshooting, a drain module, and a drain mast. And then they go into what each of those are for.
Well, let's go over something we talked about before. You got heaters for the fuel system, and you need to heat in order to get the viscosity right. Otherwise, everything would freeze up. So everything outside of that that's not heated is going to freeze up at cruise altitude. So nothing's going to be draining out of those wings at altitude. Anything that drains out will have to come down, melt on the tarmac, and drain out the tubes that way.
Leakage is contained in the holding tank until the aircraft reaches an airspeed of 200 knots. When the airspeed reaches 200 knots, a pressure valve in the module assembly admits ram air. The ram air pressurizes the holding tanks, and any accumulated fluid is discharged overboard through the drain mast, discharging directly overboard except for the fuel shroud pipe, which has its own drain tube.
You see, the problem there is that these aftermarket installations are just incompatible with that paragraph.
But I mean, according to the numerous documents that I just read, because honestly, I just discounted it. Like I was like, okay, well, there's a pump, there's a pipe, there's a pipe that's spraying the thing. Of course they're gonna, say this and that. But now I've gotten to, 3 different major documents on this, and I've watched a couple pilot videos where they're saying, and there's one video, and I couldn't possibly put all of this into one video tonight. And maybe I should just do a video specifically about, that particular tube. But there's a lot of references here, is what I'm trying to say.
Right. What the takeaway for me is, no matter where the aerosols are coming from, they're being called by the IPCC. They're being called contrails. No matter what you think they are,
right.
No matter what I think they are, and they're blaming the contrails on a warming effect.
Yeah.
Okay. So read that into the new green ideology that says that.
Hey, pause for a second. Geoengineering Norway, thank you so much for your super chat. I really appreciate it. God bless you.
Yeah.
Go ahead and continue.
Good. So, I mean, look at the big agenda here. Look at the overall agenda, the agenda to lie furiously to the American people or to the public and do a massive psychological cover-up of the whole thing through all of your allies who are sustained by corporations and promises.
Oh, I think I've got the link here that's gonna really set your hair on fire.
No, I think I've seen it. I've probably seen. I bet you I've seen it.
Is this it? Yeah. All right, here we go. Buckle your seatbelts, people. I'm going to drop this in chat. So this is directly from the IPCC. Now, if you're not a nerd, okay, like big time nerd who's been following this for a long time, this is not going to mean a lot to you. So I'm going to have to translate some of this for you. But this is the deleted IPCC aerosol, clouds and aerosol section. Coordinating lead author, Olivier Boucher. I quoted him when I went to the EPA hearing. But then you're going to see some names in here that'll really blow your mind. And I'll tell you the ones that I recognize, and I'll tell you why I recognize them. So, don't know these people, probably should. Doesn't mean a lot. Ulrich Lohmann, lead author. Ulrich Lohmann, you mean the person who wrote a Cirrus Cloud Climate Dial?
Right.
Ulrich Lohmann and Blas Gasparini, 2017. He wrote a Cirrus Cloud Climate Dial on cirrus cloud thinning or cirrus cloud seeding.
Yeah.
So that's one. Back to the thing. So there's Ulrich Lohmann from Switzerland. Philip Roche, he's from UCAR, and he is a member of the World Meteorological Expert Team on Weather Modification. So that's another lead author. But then we get down here into the contributing authors, and we see 5 geoengineers. We have Ken Caldera. And of course, none of these guys would ever, say, all this is bullshit. Ben Kravitz right there. I know that Trude Sturrielmo right here. She's also a cirrus cloud seeding. There's Alan Robach. And there was one more that I remember. but I'm just pulling this from my memory. Like I didn't have this planned, but you mentioned the IPCC, and what do you have? What is this paper about? Well, guess what? It's about shit like contrails. Is this searchable? No, of course, it's not searchable. Is it searchable in my thing?
Yeah, it is. Clouds and Aerosols is the name of the paper.
Yeah. That's the one I'm on right now. So this is from the the fifth assessment, chapter 7 final, clouds and aerosols. And what do you see? You see 5 damn geoengineers are contributing authors to the section on clouds and aerosols. You can't make that up. That's not a coincidence. And you look at the chapters, there's a whole lot in here about contrails. Because, as I put it, when I went to the EPA, cloud aerosol interaction is the greatest unknown in climate science. If you go to their computer models, they will readily admit that this is the least amount of, the least well understood part of the atmosphere. How do aerosols create clouds, and when do they occur? Under what conditions? What particular aerosols make clouds? Why there's breaks in the plane farts? Is it because people are intentionally doing geoengineering, or is it just an atmospheric thing? Even the 77 experts they got together could not agree on that answer. So for me, this is one of those, it's a tangible proof that something there's shenanigans. Would you agree?
It's obfuscation, and it's a coordinated effort to be stupid about it. So, it's a coordinated effort to disagree and to, just throw the whole thing into the trash. You can't get anything where you can't get anything useful from people who are indoctrinated into the system. They're in the matrix.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. So along that front, back to the geoengineering with jet fuel and pumps and pipes and things. I'm gonna propose an alternative method, because we've got the the video that you showed of what they call a pylon drain and a sal drain, and there's a lot of documentation on why they use it, what it's for, and all of that. That could be also, as Max Bless put it, that could be doubling as a geoengineering tube, something to dump the chemicals out of. But then there's also these. So you have these patents, and they're kind of weird because they go along with this last excuse me. This last one is pretty interesting. And you have these patents, and they're from Rolls-Royce and Airbus, of course. One patent from Airbus, this one's from Rolls-Royce, and another one from Peter Swan at Rolls-Royce. So 2 from him, 1 from Airbus. And it goes back to this paper, and this is the thing that I've been thinking about a lot. And it's called Impacts of Aviation Fuel Sulfur Content on Climate and Human Health. All right. It's just a couple letters too long, so I'm going to take that out and there you go. All right, so I'm going to drop this one in here. When I read this one, it kind of made me go, because what they say in it, the takeaway, apply high fuel sulfur content at aviation cruise altitude combined with ultra low sulfur jet fuel, aviation biofuel at lower altitude to result in a reduced aviation induced mortality and increased negative RE compared to the baseline aviation scenario. So to translate this, they're saying use biofuels on takeoff because they create less carbon black soot around airports and kill less people. But then when they get up to altitude, to use a high sulfur jet fuel to mimic the Mount Pinatubo effect to do stratospheric sulfur injection. So
but there's not that. But that's not the stratosphere. They're not in the stratosphere. Stratosphere is much higher than that, and that's where the confusion comes in.
But they are in the stratosphere. I mean, I can go right now to ADSB Exchange and basically click on any one of these bright pink planes. Boom. This plane is currently at 48,000 feet.
Most of the corridors are at about 35 to 36,000 feet.
Yeah,
They're nowhere.
I mean, this one's at 36,000. You go to these purple ones, 41,000. This one right here is an Airbus. It's at 42,000. All of these are. I don't have the screen up. It helps when I have the screen up.
Go back.
So yeah,
Go back.
I mean, when you look at these, they are all pretty much. And just to give everybody, you know, the big overview, if you look at the actual altitude, the troposphere, you know, typically is, you know, in the range of, 39,000 to 40,000 feet is the tropopause. That's the area where the troposphere turns into the stratosphere. It is different at different times in different parts of the world. So it's not a fixed location.
That's a mid-latitude.
Huh? Yeah, at the mid-Atlantic, it's lower, right?
That's exactly where the southern part of the United States is mid-latitude.
Yeah, so along the equator, it's actually lower. And that's because of the density of the atmosphere above it, pressing down, compression. Okay? If you're a flat earther, then just say that in the middle, it's just thicker. Okay? We're not going to get into that debate here.
Don't.
Oh, Lord.
We're already over our head.
Yeah, I know, for real. So the point being that if you start to look at these planes, you can see that almost all of them are flying right at that 40,000 foot, mark. So. No. Decker is finding them at 36, 35, 34. I mean, that's the average. So, you know, barometric altitude, 33,000, 34,000, WGS 84, which is, you know, the mapping standard, 36,000. So yeah, anywhere from 34 to 36,000. But then you're going to have your other planes that are way the hell up there, 45,000 barometric, WGS 84, 47,000 feet. And if you go down the corridors, like you can see the corridors, let's go to the main. God dang, it is full right now. Woo.
Commercial aircraft almost never go above 40,000 feet. Some of the Lear jets do. They go to 41, 42. Just to stay away from the big guys.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm seeing a whole lot way up there. So this one's at 39,000. This one's at 42,000. This one's at 42,000. It's all a moot point though, because beyond a shadow of a doubt, right here, the Indian Space Organization, back to what you were talking about, I have all of this in this one post right here. So it's all in this weather modification history timeline entry. If you scroll down to the part right below this infographic, soot and carbon black carry sulfur into the stratosphere, destroys ozone layer, affects rainfall and monsoons worldwide. And I think I have No, I don't have it on here. But anyway, I've got an infographic on that. So this is what he was talking about. 2010, David Keith, photophoretic levitation of engineered aerosols for geoengineering. And he says aerosols could be injected into the upper atmosphere to engineer the climate by scattering incident sunlight so as to produce a cooling tendency that may mitigate the risks posed by the accumulation of greenhouse gases. Analysis of the climate engineering has focused on sulfate aerosols, sulfur. Here I examine the possibility that an engineered nanoparticles could exploit photophoretic forces, enabling more control over particle distribution and lifetime than is possible with sulfates, perhaps allowing climate engineering to be accomplished with fewer side effects. The use of electrostatic or magnetic materials enables a class of photophoretic forces not found in nature. Photophoretic levitation could loft particles above the stratosphere, reducing their capacity to interfere with ozone chemistry, and by increasing particle lifetimes, it will reduce the need for continual replenishment of the aerosol. Moreover, particles might be engineered to drift poleward, enabling albedo modification to be tailored to counter polar warming while minimizing the impact at equatorial climates. Translation: if we engineer a nanoparticle that is black, it could be lofted into the sky by the sun itself, that even though you dispersed it in the troposphere, it would go and it would rise up into the stratosphere, negating the need to fly up into the stratosphere. Super Chad, Silver Wings, The Kingdom Within. It's not much, but thank you, Jim, for all your hard work. Thank you so much, Silver Wings, for your super chat. I greatly appreciate it. So the point is, it's kind of a moot point now, because we have proven beyond a shadow that we being, not me, not Harold, the Indian Space Organization. Oh yeah, people are probably wanting chat links. This is where David Keith said that thing. So let me drop that. Photophoretic levitation of engineered aerosols. And this is where they kind of dropped the bomb on the fact that that's already happening. Wow, that was 200 characters exactly on the dot. Go ahead.
It's not much, but thank you, Jim, for all your hard work.
Thank you so much, Silver Wings. So here it is. 2017. All right, right here. 2017. Black carbon particles from aviation exist up to 18 kilometers in the stratosphere. Airplanes may be ejecting significant amounts of black carbon. I went over it earlier. This paper is from July of 2023, and it said 1 million tons of carbon nanoparticles per year from airplanes. So this was in 2017. This year, they're saying 1 million tons of carbon nanoparticles from airplane every year. Back to the paper. Airplanes may be ejecting significant amounts of black carbon. They are 1 million tons of nanoparticles. A pollutant known to aggravate breathing disorders, upset the monsoon, and quicken glacial melt. Anything to say on that one?
Yeah.
It does. The black highways on the polar ice cap.
Jason Box went up there and filmed the whole damn thing. You see the ice is black.
Yeah, they call them black highways. It's from the skyways, and they, of course, they say that all of it just kind of coalesces like the freaking Pacific Gyre, with plastics and stuff.
And now it's the Canadian wildfires.
Yeah, there's all that's helping too, because burning forest fires makes soot.
The mass arsonist event.
Yeah, exactly, right? So what they say here is they're known to aggravate breathing disorders, upset the monsoon, and quicken glacial melt, and maybe depleting the ozone layer, according to the study by climate researchers from multiple institutions in the country. Though airborne, BC black carbon is known to dissipate and settle down in a few months under influence of rain and wind, and is unlikely to travel upwards of 4 kilometers. However, a group of scientists, including the Indian Institute for Science and ISRO Vikram Sarabhi Space Center, say they now have evidence of such particles existing up to 18 kilometers in the stratosphere, and there are about 10,000 of them in every cubic centimeter. Wait for it. Given the shape and location of these black carbon particles, they argue it could only derive from emissions from aviation fuel. And they pose a problem because these black carbon particles can linger long enough to provide a fertile ground for other chemical reactions that deplete the ozone layer. So, according to the Indian Space Organization, it doesn't matter if you fly into the stratosphere. All those planes flying anywhere close to the tropopause, near the top of the troposphere, the black carbon is doing photophoretic levitation. In addition to along this was by the Indian Space Organization. You have to imagine this is near the Himalayas. You've got that updraft of wind, on these really high mountains, which is even making it worse because it's now blowing all of that stuff even higher. But finding 10,000 black carbon particles per cubic centimeter, 18 kilometers in the sky, is proof that the black carbon from jets, the sulfuric acid that's coated on the black carbon, and all of the metals that are in the black carbon are going into the stratosphere. That is the definition of geoengineering. And it's proof 100% positive that it's going on.
Well, that's one. We'll take a look at that, but I have to say that it's not working.
Well, I mean, to say that it's a geoengineering program would be kind of stupid. I'm not saying that it's a geoengineering program. I'm saying at the very least, this is evidence that the chemicals coming out of planes are entering the stratosphere. It is stratospheric aerosol injection. We can agree on that by definition.
Well, the volcanoes do it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, duh. That was the whole idea behind geoengineering, was to mimic Mount Pinatubo, right?
That's right.
So
it's nothing new to see. It's nothing new to see particles in the stratosphere. The deliberate ejection of chemicals to create artificial contrails is an effort to warm the climate. It's just a frank admission.
Yeah, and I mean, for those that don't believe what he's saying, you can literally come over here on the sidebar and go to the tag cloud and just click on melt the Arctic. Because I basically made a tag for it. I'll just drop it in chat. So if you don't know about this is a thing, the whole melt the Arctic meme. And I'll go back to the beginning to start with. But yeah, reroute warm ocean currents to melt polar ice caps, 1887. Jules Verne, fire a cannon to tilt the Earth's axis, melt poles, 1889. End of iceberg menace. Nathaniel, what is it? No, C.L. Reich, or, a $190 million, holy shit. I mean, you're talking 1912, a $190 million Newfoundland jetty would cause our axis to shift. C.L. Riker believes. End of iceberg menace. Plan to send Gulf Stream unchilled into Arctic's heart, abolishing fogs and extreme cold. Space mirrors to focus sunlight and melt polar ice caps, 1929. Nuke the Arctic to melt the poles, 1945. Professor Julian Huxley, biologist and Secretary General of UNESCO, proposed exploding atomic bombs to melt the freaking poles.
I just posted that.
Huh? Yeah, this.
I just
we were just talking about this one before the show. This is the actual article. Atomize the Arctic. And they actually show, like, this is what the Arctic would look like with a nice atomized glow. I mean, you got to love the artwork back then, right? The original archive of it is right here at the bottom. Retro replays. Can we atomize the Arctic? CarlSchroeder.com, 2008. For anybody that wants to actually look at that. Let me take 2 links up there. But yeah, that's a thing. That's a whole ass thing. And guess what? They did do that. I mean, you can actually go to ClimateViewer 3D and you can see, they did actually try to blow up the entire Arctic. These other 2 dudes, they like proposed the idea that they would make a metal particle ring, an artificial ionosphere, to melt the poles. And then the military, right after that, they did Project Westford, or the Westford Needles, where they dumped 280 million dipole antennas in space. But of course, they said they did it for radio transmissions, not to melt the poles. It's just all a coincidence, you stupid people. I mean, you just can't make this stuff up, right?
Yeah, it was a big grandiose period of time, wasn't it? The beginning of the industrial complex.
That and the, trying to blow up the damn ionosphere. I mean, that was kind of a big deal whenever they were, doing these, like Project Starfish Prime and Project Fishbowl, Hardtack T, and all that. They just kept going higher and higher, and they're like, hey, can we just blow up the damn ionosphere? Because we really hate it, and that would do some, if we could blow holes in the ionosphere, we could really get to melting some Arctic. But the Russians, I think, they won that that blowing up the Arctic with nuclear bombs thing. Because if you look up here, I mean, they really did a number on their Arctic compared to anybody else.
And who was it that wanted to spray chlorine gas up there to destroy the ozone layer?
Oh,
it was actually.
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
And that was a way to melt the Arctic real fast. So these plans have been talked about for 150 years, and nobody's forgotten about them except us. Except most of us who are around today, looking down at their iPhone.
Yeah, the kids nowadays have no clue. But I mean, there were lots of above ground, upper atmospheric. I mean, some of these, the altitude on them aren't that high. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the height on this one's only 2,900 meters. Okay. But yeah, they did a lot of different ones. The highest one right here is like 4,000 meters. But it wasn't until basically Starfish Prime happened at an altitude of, I think it says 80 kilometers here, but I thought it was higher than that. Surface elevation height, 423,000 meters. Okay. So
Yeah.
that one was the Mac Daddy of them all. And they were blowing up the ionosphere. And until Russia did Project K, that's when they said, oh, hell with this. You know, this blowing up the ionosphere crap needs to stop immediately. And that's when they signed the Limited Test Ban Treaty to ban upper atmospheric nuclear explosion.
There you go.
Yeah, and so now, according to international law, you're only allowed to blow up nuclear bombs underground. That's it. That's why Rocket Man in North Korea keeps getting his ass in trouble, because the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty Organization has monitoring systems that catch him every single time. But that just shows that, you know, it doesn't matter how good your law is, how good your ban is. There will always be those who just say, screw your law, I'm going to blow some shit up. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we should cover, because it's getting kind of late, and I really appreciate you taking your time. Harold, is there anything else you want to talk about in particular?
I think we've about wrung the dryer clean there. You know, for now, I don't. I still think some of the evidence that we can talk about next time is how in the hell do they get that crap on the front end of the aircraft and the cargo bay to leak out like that?
Oh, I didn't even show. Let's go to that before we go.
Well, why are they allowing that to happen after 12 years? Finally, we see it only with the high-powered camera that Mike Decker's got.
Yeah.
But they've got to be concerned that people are seeing it. Either that or they want us to see it.
All right, so I think this is the video. So this one really defies all of the other things. All right, what are those? What is that right there? It's center of the body. This is a 2-engine plane. This is definitely not coming out of the jet engines, okay? Now, you know, I want to like, you know, play the sane guy and say, it's just some aerodynamic contrail, but it's like spurting. I mean, literally, it's like spurting in there. So it does.
It's like somebody opened a bag of flour and just dumped it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's like the plane. I joke about plane farts, but that literally is a plane fart right out of the center of the body. That.
And
I think you had other ones like towards the beginning.
There's three good ones where you can see it coming out of the front end of the belly of the aircraft in the cargo bay.
Is this the one?
It's not the APU or anything like that. It's coming right out of the.
Yeah, I mean, look at that.
And those are the logical places. And those are the logical places to put the tanks in. And they've cut down on the amount of on-carry.
Just briefly, you can see right here right under the wing, you can see it right there coming out.
Yeah, some are better than others, but
real close.
It's always there.
See that? It's like there's a white spot coming out of there, right there. There's a better video that you have where it's much longer and you can just see it literally farting right out the tail end.
I think you showed it already.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
You showed one already, yeah. I saw it.
But yeah, plane farts, man. They're the thing.
So there you've got all the evidence you need to counter your psychological operation.
So everybody also, we've mentioned him many times, so I got to give him a shout out. Mike Decker, check him out on YouTube right there.
Yeah, he's doing good stuff.
Great high altitude footage. I've got it on popular right now, but this is latest. Let's just check out something latest that
July 18th. Emirates doing some precision on Osprey.
Some are definitely better than the others.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, I've got the same camera that he has, and it's a Nikon.
Oh yeah, it's totally natural.
That's an aerodynamic contrail. Like that's the difference on this one. This is literally just, forming from the wing.
The Morse code, going back to the Morse code from the satellite, viewing that, if you notice the field of view, there was probably at least 25 aircraft in that field of view from the satellite, and the only one you saw was the contrail.
Well, that ain't obvious, children.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other telltale thing about it. It's like, whenever we were showing the on-off thing and then going to the satellite view, you think that's the only plane that flew over that area during that time that the satellite took a photo?
In that field of view, right? In that field of view, there was at least a dozen more planes in that field of view from the satellite. And the only one you saw was the Morse code satellite, Morse code aircraft, and then followed by, it looked like he was having a problem getting the generator started to get the thing going. They would go on again and off again, or maybe he's getting a warning light, and finally resolved it and turned them on, so it stayed as a persistent contrail for what looks like about 100 miles.
Yeah, because the part of the video we see is so small compared to the line that's like this long. I mean, it literally it covers almost the entire length of Nova Scotia. So yeah, he doesn't show the clip. Oddly enough, ends right as the Morse code ends, because from that point on, it's just straight chemtrolling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it would have been interesting to just watch it all the way through to the horizon. Now it's not doing it anymore, but it's Dasher blitzing on Dasher.
You got to run out of coal fly ash sometime.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna dig into the coal fly ash thing, because if there's some there, then somebody would have at least discussed this in detail, not name Herndon, as a the potential for coal fly ash to be used as a geoengineering something, or used as a like an octane booster. I mean, you wouldn't believe the kind of dumb shit they come up with. Finely ground aluminum nanoparticles in biofuels with a J-Tropha plant to increase the efficiency of the fuel. And they don't mind saying it, even though in the same sentence, the same paragraph, they go, oh, and nanoparticles kill people, so they should be used judiciously. So if they're willing to say dumb shit like that, it just stands to reason that somewhere, if there is any truth to the coal fly ash theory, then there's something particular about coal fly ash that either is a radiative forcer, an albedo enhancer, or a performance enhancer.
It creates an artificial cloud. That's what it does. It creates an artificial cloud, and I see it here all the time. One jet comes by, it spreads out, covers the whole sky, and the heat has no place to go. Traps the heat all night.
Yeah,
it's a simple agenda to figure out. It's a depopulation agenda, a soft depopulation agenda. And it's a trick that they can't stop it now because they're afraid it'll cool everything off so fast they'll lose all of their political initiative.
So just to prove a point to everybody, because I see that it's rolling around in the chat. This is where it came from, and it was 8 years ago. It wasn't the 1980s. Somebody in chat just said. ACB said, forgot that coal fly ash rabbit hole. That was probably back in the 1980s. No, The first person to say this out loud was a guy called the HARP Report. Okay. And if you go to the HARP Report and you click on popular, the secret chemtrail pilot speaks on December 2014. That was his big, viral video. And then the next thing coming out of his mouth was chemtrails are coal fly ash, or coal ash, as he put it. And he had this other one where he said, the secret plan, the plan to end chemtrails, HARP, and all of this stuff. In it, he basically outed himself, how to stop chemtrails and HARP. And then he said, we should do geoengineering, which really made him look like a dumbass. But anyway, Tinker Air Force Base chemtrail factory. And he goes into details about how they're moving the coal fly ash into the planes and all of that sort of stuff. But this is the official start, and I'll link the video just so you guys have it. Chemtrails are coal fly or coal ash, and he says this video solves the 20-year-old mysteries. Who's making the chemtrail spray mix? Where does the chemtrail spray mix come from? Why are they making the chemtrail spray mix? Here's a free PDF download. I'm sure this is a broken link.
They want to avoid building those slurry ponds, so they just decided to do what they do with fluoride as an industrial waste and stick it in your drinking water. There's nothing new.
Yeah.
That's what they've been doing for 100 years, is putting the pollution in a diluted form so that you won't notice. It's been a slow kill since the 60s.
So this was February 1st, 2015. And that's where, it all started. And it's only grown since then. J. Marvin Herndon being, obviously the most vocal, advocate of this idea of chemtrail, of coal fly ash as the number one chemtrail ingredient. I'm gonna have to do a hell of a lot more digging before I'm willing to jump on that crazy train.
He backs it up with an analysis of the particles. So, I mean, you have to prove him wrong. You can't just say he's wrong. You don't agree with him. You say, well, you might have something there, but it's consistent with. He didn't prove anything, but he said it's consistent with. But nobody's followed it up. Because first of all, there's nobody getting government dollars that are going to do it.
But at the same time, you can't prove a negative. You can't disprove a negative.
and if he's not a negative, it's consistent with. It has to be followed up. Somebody has to replicate the experiment. But nobody will do it because they're not getting paid to do it, and they're getting paid not to do it. And the volume needed to do such an operation matches the coal fly ash. We have boxcar trains coming in here all the time with coal, and they leave. The train leaves with something in it, but we don't know what it is. It could be redispatched to get into the aircraft, into the airport system, and put on board as a galley diner or something. Who knows? Or something in the head. So it's piecemeal to the point where nobody who does their job at the airport knows what's in the container they're putting on board. They're just paid to do it. Container is sealed. It's hooked up, and that's what gets the plausible deniability going. It's like the bomb. The work on the bombs had 13 different manufacturing places working on the atomic bomb, and nobody knew what they were working on. They were just turning one screw to the right, one screw to the left. The next guy would crank down a lug with a wrench, but he didn't know what the product was. He just, gave him this tank, and that was the end of it. So it's the division of labor is what keeps everybody employed in a product that is basically has evil intent.
Yeah, and I mean, as long as you got pictures like this, 1956 to 1974 cloud seeding generator, which literally is a pump with a pipe and a spray nozzle coming out of the back of a plane.
Well done.
I mean, that's a real ass chemtrail sprayer. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, the list just goes on, and I don't know. Like, this is Dominic's, little index of multiple different, historical photos and everything like that. I just thought you'd get a kick out of that one little spray nozzle.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I mean, there's multiple videos of, the United States military just like flinging hoses out of the back of a freaking airplane. Lots of pictures of pumps and pipes. And maybe what we need to do is, collect a whole lot of these pictures of pumps and pipes and find out, where's the original source of these images. And then, really I'm going to do some nerding out on coal fly ash. So, I will start, I promise, and I will actually read Herndon's paper.
Yeah.
To start with, because I have not. Okay. So I'll read Herndon's papers, promise, and then we'll go from there. Because if there's enough truth in there, then there is nothing I cannot find on the internet. I mean, it's just period, point blank, end of story. Between me and Dominic and some people I know, and I got friends in low places, we could find it. So I just need to see the link and I need proof. I like to say that everything that I talk about on this channel, I can back it up to the point where I can walk into a court of law and prove my case beyond a shadow of a doubt. And I try to stick to that, but there are a lot of freaking gray areas. This, farting Morse code dots and dashes is the biggest one of all. Nobody can explain it. No atmospheric scientist can explain it. No mechanic can explain it. It's, as the scientific community would say, not well understood. So that leaves speculation. And where there's a vacuum, it will be filled. And I based on what we know about, all of the statements about spraying chemicals into the exhaust plumes, all of the geoengineering statements, all the things, I'm a lead towards shenanigans until somebody can prove otherwise. So,
well, the shenanigans, there's shenanigans enough in what you found, and the kerosene and the JP8, and that's enough to really raise a huge stink. But so many people are accepting air travel now, they don't want to think about the downside of all that. Those forever chemicals landing on the ground in their own backyard, killing their dogs and cats eventually if it builds up enough. And all these animals, they don't want to think about that part of it. The Sierra Club goes to all their meetings on an airplane. So, what can you say?
ACB's like saying, play my video. All right. I'll give it a shot. It's only a minute long. Let's see what you got, ACB. He's saying that, why wouldn't you just turn it into a liquid? Like, why would you just take basic coal fly ash and not just turn it into a liquid? So
I say that's That's because it creates these big, very poisonous and toxic sludge ponds, and they've been sued over and over. That's really the reason they want to get rid of it. Like fluoride, it's an industrial waste, so they put it in your toothpaste.
I think Willie's trying to call in. What the hell is that? It's like a little... Are you watching this, Harold?
I think I'm out of sync.
It's just like a little dash that just appeared out of nowhere. He's got some...
Oh, a UFO. Is that a UFO?
I don't know, man. That's just weird.
Oh, yeah, I see it. Oh, it looks like it's, was that taken from inside of a car?
No, this couldn't be.
No.
This is a stationary camera. It's time lapse.
Oh, okay, time lapse. There, that explains it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So it just formed by itself.
Yeah, it's right there.
But
like you can see it
right
off the rip. That. All right, ACB. This is adjust the resolution. It should be all the way up. What? It only goes to 480p. Shame on you. Shame, ACB. It was already on. It's going to default to max anyway.
Yeah, that's one you're talking about right there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not going to go any higher than 480p.
That's all you get, 480p. And then you can zoom it in. You can send that into Mr. MBB333 and he'll put it online. And he has a gadget that will magnify it for you. If you're familiar with this guy on the internet.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. And I mean, honestly, like I could real quick just rip your video from the YouTube channel, grab it, throw it into Adobe Premiere or After Effects, run all kind of filters on it and do that as well.
That's what he does.
I mean, you can do all kinds of crazy stuff with that, but I'm interested at like right at the beginning when it just starts to, it ends up looking, I mean, is it just me or does that look like a machine gun?
It looks to me like something actually shot a projectile that released that, and it started to make a cloud. It was not an aircraft involved at all. It was something that you couldn't see that went through the air that released that suddenly you could see it because of what it released. Wherefore you couldn't see it before that. Now, if you can spot traveling through the air at significant speed, right prior to that elongated horizontal bar, then you might be able to make your case that these things are now being created with drones.
Yeah, I mean, this is it with an inversion on it. And then you can actually go in and...
That's too exceptional to be just a natural phenomena. I mean, it defies being called a natural phenomenon. I'll admit that. It could be, but it defies it.
Yeah,
it needs more.
That's interesting. That's hella interesting. So you go, you can do
now, do you see it?
And then grab. I don't see anything like, causing it right off.
Right. Do you see anything coming into the frame? Can you see anything coming into
it's so low resolution that you're not going to be able to catch that.
Yeah, but you'd still be able to see a smudge of something. It was still
that's why I'm going to grab the brightness and contrast and see.
It still moved the pixels around no matter what the resolution was to a certain point. 480 is not that bad.
Yeah.
For this event, if you can
detect something. Go back and see how it forms. If it forms from left to right or from right to left, if you can make the distinction about how it forms, is it spontaneous in all directions, or is it just, or can you detect whether it was from the right or the left?
It's so fast, though. I mean, that spreads so quick. Let me go back.
I'm assuming that it was thrust into the scene by another object that we can't see for some reason.
I mean, do you see how quick that comes in?
Now, the thing is, if it was launched like a torpedo, where the aircraft was so far away.
I'm being greedy. Chat here, y'all. I'm gonna share this. Give the guy a thumbs up when you're there.
There you go. See.
I'm thumbs up number 2. So you slackers better be thumbs up in ACB's video. And while you're there, he's only got 27 subscribers. Give him a subscribe, because we're not hypocrites like other people that don't,
So when that cloud there starts to form, it's already pinned to the left side. You can't detect if there's anything left of it that you could see that could possibly make the formation or inject it into the frame.
He actually rolls the camera right here. Look, back, forward, and then back, forward. So you can actually see it.
I know, but I'm looking to find something that's injecting it into the frame. And see, it starts.
What is that? What is that?
On the left.
You see that?
What's that?
That damn dot right there.
Show me again. Where is
it's
it?
Right here. And it comes right through, but this is coming through after. There's a plane coming. It looks like it's a plane.
Huh. I don't know. You think it was launched?
You can see it right here. Like it's right in the center. I'm at 43 seconds.
Okay, so it's above the cloud. Your cursor
40 seconds. It's gonna show up at the bottom of the screen. I swear to God, they make this so hard sometimes. So let me cut this down. 25% speed, and you're gonna see it come in from the bottom. Well, shit, that time it went through this way.
So you're saying it's a UAP formation, huh?
Yeah, I'm trying to decide which way you're actually playing this at this point, because all right, so this is actually rolling backwards. So it actually comes in from the top of the screen and goes down.
All right, so let's see it.
If you go back, you can actually see. You can see it right there on the wide shot. It's that dot right there. And it comes
there it is down. It's down below. So it moves a great distance between frames.
Yeah, that thing's hauling.
Okay,
ass.
So that's a definition of a UAP. And that cloud may be an attempt to intercept it. That's not a cloud. That looks like a discharge.
See, that's it. That's it right there.
Yeah, that's a discharge of some kind from something. Maybe off to the left where we can't see it. We can't see where it originated from, and then all of a sudden it appeared because it was exploded in that position.
But that's it right there.
Interfere with the UAP. So they could detect it or damage it or whatever they wanted to do with it. I'll buy that.
But that's it right there. And it's actually when you look at it on the camera, it's flying this route pretty much. Where's my damn pen tool? Too big.
That's very interesting. They're trying to intercept the UAP.
Because it's flying this direction. But this cloud's already in. It's like something came across and then left this little trail. It starts here, it ends here. Yeah, it started here, it ends here. Then you see this thing shoot in through and then come out here. Does that make sense? Sort of.
I mean, we're using a lot of imagination here on this.
It's fun.
So
the UAP, Chad asked, it's an unidentified aerial phenomena. We used to call them UFOs, unidentified flying objects, but because the terminologists at the United States Air Force and the military decided that UFO was just not cool enough, UAP now just means phenomena. So I guess that could include things like ball lightning and all that other kind of shit.
Yeah, my theory is all that stuff is a plasma hologram, and they're just projecting that on there. It's like taking a flashlight and waving it across the broadside of a barn. You can change direction without any G-effect. There's no sound barrier breaking or anything like that. So that's my explanation for it right now. It behaves like a plasma hologram.
I can buy that.
And spraying stuff in the air would enhance that, make it possible.
Don't I have this? I swear I have this. Let me see if I can find it. It's in a different thing. There's a thing called a magnetohydrodynamic drive.
Yeah.
And there's a patent for it. Patent UFO magnetohydrodynamic.
It's the electrogravitics is the term that's used for that. I mean, those are the little silver balls.
All right, here you go. This is your official UAP UFO patent. Magnetohydrodynamic propulsion system. Inventor, and it says expired fee related. He did not pay his bill. And it doesn't show an assignee, which is really weird. It just says
neither did Tesla didn't pay his bill either.
Yeah.
He just
So here's your UFO patent, and I personally love this one the most because pictures are so fun. So check these out. I want the slideshow, damn it. Yeah. Really? What in the absolute hell? Reset.
Space
right now there. So it looks like a damn spaceship for starters. I want my UFOs to look like spaceships. But then you see this one, and they literally have like this the dude sitting in the seat. So let me rotate it. Look at that.
See, you can't trust a patent. This is all concept stuff.
Isn't that fun though? Oh Lord. So yeah, this is the idea of using magnetic fields. And this is an MHD right here. So this is the actual propulsion drive system for it. Is based on MHD, or magnetohydrodynamic drive. And then here's a real close up of the magnet electronic magnet system and all of that. Really fascinating patent, but I totally believe these things are just like they're man-made.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely.
I mean, the idea of over like this is the best one right here. It shows it take off, vertical lift off, but then when it flies, it like flies sideways. And then it flips to then decelerate and then land back on its belly. So it's a flying hamburger UFO.
I've got a video of electrogravitics entering the scene of the SpaceX launch, practice launch in 2016.
Yeah,
and I got
Mr. Stonley. I still watch John Hutchinson, the Hutchinson effect. I haven't seen him in a while, but dude used to take electromagnetic waves and take nuclear radioactive material and make it not radioactive. Magnets, man, fascinating. Well, Harold, I love you, brother. This has been a great discussion.
It's only 10 o'clock.
Yeah, it's only 10 o'clock, and I only have to get up at 6 o'clock and work for 50 hours this week. So
don't forget to clean your gun.
Yeah, I do need to clean my gun, and then I gotta shave before I go because you gotta look professional in your uniform when you show up at a courthouse. With a gun on your hip, somebody might judge. I want to grow a big freaking like Duck Dynasty beard. Like I have severe beard envy sometimes. Just I don't know why. Just as like just something different. But then as it starts to grow out, I start to lose my damn mind. Like you get to that itchy point. And I think somebody told me in chat one time, they were like, "You just got to get through the itchy part, man. It will go away." But yeah, I need a cool ass beard and like let my hair grow out just to see what happens. I mean, shit, I've never done it my whole life.
I tried it when I was younger, and I had a couple of bald spots that made it look really weird. I've got a bald beard, patchy, bald, won't come out. So I'm still shaving.
What is
okay,
this?
guys?
She just sent me a video of the TR3B Black Manta. Yeah, I've got those old photos too of the little triangle. Anyway, guys, thank you, Harold, for hanging out with me today. It's been hella fun. We're gonna have to we'll talk via email. What I want to do is get Max Bliss in on this conversation, and let's like hash out some pumps and pipe pictures, or maybe react to some. So get your best pumps and pipes video material together, and like make a list, and we'll like dig into that. But before we go, I want to make sure everybody remembers we're on the phone with Harold Save, longtime chemtrail activist, good friend from down in Florida. You can follow him at newsparadigm.substack.com. He had a very large following on YouTube at one time before who did what, and he had to start over from scratch. So did they delete your Chemtrails Planet WordPress as well?
Oh yeah, I've had at least 2 websites taken down. One was over Sandy Hook.
Yeah, there was that. Alex Jones regrets that one too.
He showed himself for what he was on that one.
Yeah, well, we won't go into that. But anyway, you guys show Harold some love. Go over to his Substack. At least hit follow. It's free. And if you want to support his work, hit the upgrade to paid. I I've been reading his articles now. I actually signed up about a month ago. And I've only signed up to 3 Substacks, Corbett Report, Rened Sinems, and Harold. So I suggest you do the same. Definitely a wide, you're not just talking about chemtrails anymore. Let's put it that way. But you never were. I mean, you were on, what was that Florida, I forget the magazine you wrote for. Newspaper. Right?
I don't recall what that would have been. I was on a magazine.
You would constantly be publishing your stuff in it was a different place. I can't remember. It was like Alachua County or something.
I have a Google account where I upload articles of interest for subscribers on that account. Some of them are in the United States, some of them are in Europe. That has a pretty good following, and it provides a catalog for me for a timeline of events that I thought were important at the time. So it's archaeologically sound for my history of what I thought was important at the time.
I thought it was some Gainesville, like, Alachua Chronicle, right?
Oh, actually, that's not mine, but it's a good, it's a conservative newspaper.
Veterans Today, that's where you publish. That's what I'm trying to think of.
Oh, yes, Veterans Today. Well, they've changed their link and their logo, and they're beginning to publish some stuff that makes sense now. So I promote some of their good stuff.
Anyway, so I'm gonna drop that link in chat as well. So that's what I was trying to think of. I'm not crazy, man. I had to dig that one out of the deep vault of my mind and try to remember. I was like, there was another place where you posted, and it was veteranstoday.com. That's what I remember.
I might post again if I'm allowed. They kicked me off one time. They kicked Fetzer off. Anyway, that's another day.
Yeah.
Anyway,
all right. Well, take it easy, Harold. I'm going to wrap this up and tell these people to go to bed. You have a wonderful evening, Harold. I appreciate you hanging out with me, man.
All right. See ya.
All right. Night, dude. So that's the kind of conversations I have with fellow content creators that normally just, go on for hours on my phone and never really happen in public. And I think that more of that sort of thing would be helpful. And it sure is helpful for me, because I swear to God, I hate being on here just monologuing. And it's just so much more fun to bounce ideas off other people. And I love it when people disagree with me. I mean, it's fun. It's more fun that way, like makes you think, shit, am I crazy or is he crazy? Who's the crazier one? We'll figure it out later. Anyway, thank you all for tuning in. Again, thank you to Silver Wings, Geoengineering Norway, and Jenna for the super chats. Please share this video. Send me your Morse code dotted line chemtrail videos at jim@climateviewer.com, and I'll take a look at them. I want to make a good montage of them all. Sweet. ACB sent me the video of the chemtrail from nowhere. Anyway, send them to me at jim@climateviewer.com. I'm always interested in, looking at these sorts of things, because nobody can really explain it. Nobody has been able to give a good explanation that meets my smell test. So therefore, that is the strongest evidence of shenanigans, period, end of story. Everything else I'm going to tell you is in the gas tank. So with that being said, I love you, mean it. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. 3 hours. Wow, we've really done it tonight. And my next stream, I got a couple interviews that people want me to do. I'm trying to make time for all of them. Weaponized News, Mark Steves, Tinfoil Hat Podcast. A dude, what's his name? What the name? He's out of the Czech Republic. That's why I was kind of picking on it earlier. I want to say Rondu's. Where is it at? Anyway, next Sunday in the morning, I'm going to be doing an interview with him. I swore it was right here at the top of my. I get so many freaking emails. Jeez. That's not it. Anyway, I got a couple. Oh, Radovan right there. It's at radovan.org. Gonna be doing an interview with him. Let me see this. Examples. Here's a interview with this guy. This is on their channel, and he translates everything from English to Czech. So different venue, obviously. Oh, that's the police. They're coming to get me. And his website is obviously right there. And you can see dude reached out to me and was like, hey, I want to talk about geoengineering and all this stuff to the Czech Republic. So different audiences, different venues. Keep myself busy, but I got a couple things that I want to talk about. It's just like if you guys looked at my research list of things that I want to talk about, it just grows every single day. So it's just like picking which one to actually talk about is getting tougher and tougher and tougher. Because this decarbonization crap is making me laugh. The super outbreak of 2011, with a tie into the Fukushima thing. There's a lot of stuff. I'm gonna be fickle about it and say, expect me when you can expect me. But needless to say, you can always just go to ClimateViewer.com. There, if you go to the front page of ClimateViewer.com, it's very simple. When you go to ClimateViewer.com, now that's not a thing. ClimateViewer.com. If you go there, right here at the top is my Rumble, my BitChute, my Odyssey, and if you click play on this.com, there, if you go to the front page of, you can see that there's a little bit of a delay, but all of my videos will be right there. So whenever one is scheduled, it'll automatically be there. And you can see all of my mirrored content on BitChute, Rumble, and Odyssey. The social media, the weather modification history vault, and all of that stuff. And some of the featured news articles like directed energy weapons and all that stuff. My featured presentation, the PowerPoint presentations on all these topics, everything's on the front page of ClimateViewer.com. So just go there, and remember, please support the channel. I put thousands and thousands and thousands of hours into this website so that you guys can use it as a reference. So please use it as a reference. Please use this information, because knowing is half the battle. And with information comes power, and with power comes great responsibility. Please use the information that we spewed out of the last 3 hours and 5 minutes to attack ideas, not people. Love you, mean it. See you on the next one. If the video resonates with you, leave me a comment because I love hearing from y'all. First time here, be sure to subscribe and click the bell. Yeah! Remember, it would be impossible for me to do this without your support, so please join my Patreon or buy me a coffee on PayPal. And always, attack ideas, not people.